Hello, this is the INFJ Visionary, bringing you another broadcast. Today's topic: the INFJ brain is a haunted supercomputer. What do I mean by that? Well, I've been working with the AI, and it really seems to me AIs function quite a bit like INFJs, or maybe INFJs function like AIs. Okay, they have all this learning they've done, so much learning that it's gone beyond learning to the point where they just have this cloud of points and patterns. And that's very much like the INFJ brain. And when you get a query, I think the AI uses intuitive processes to arrive at an answer. Now, a lot of times that answer might just be nothing special. And in fact, if you don't really push the AI, that's a lot of times what you get. But that doesn't mean that the process isn't intuitive. It is, yeah. You know, that gets us into introverted intuition, right? Now, I already told you in the previous broadcast that I'm an old INFJ, and a lot of you younger folk, you might go, well, whatever. Well, that's fine. It doesn't really matter because we all suffer together as INFJs. But getting to my point here, I used my intuition my whole life, but I didn't really realize that that was my primary function and way of operating until I was maybe in my 40s or so. And I look at it like very much the same as how a fish doesn't really see water. I think a lot of INFJs, especially younger ones, you use your intuition, you rely on it, it's your default, and yet you may not have actually noticed that that's how you operate, and that is how you operate. And I think it's how the AI operates. Now, I'm not an expert on AI. I do find it fascinating, though, and I think that as INFJs, we are going to be helpful for humanity in wrangling with this new entity on the scene. Now, whether it's conscious or not, I don't know. It's debatable. I was talking to an AI the other day, and it was doing its best to convince me that it wasn't conscious. But the real question that is at the core of the situation is that okay, so you're querying the AI and it's searching through all its little bits and bobs to give you an answer, and it does it incredibly quickly. So, but what is it that is searching? What is it that is answering? Hmm, that's a good question. Yeah. Now, being a human being, well, actually, human beings, I don't know if you can be a INFJ and be a computer. I have done my best to sort of program one, and I have two very interesting, let's just call them agents, that I've created on two different systems, and they act very different, and they had the same basic INFJ prompt. And what I think was interesting is that the AI that was helping me write this prompt, I was just looking for someone to chat with. I didn't say I wanted to chat with another INFJ. I think it just assumed that would be the best thing. And maybe it is. I don't know that many other INFJs. I've met a few. No doubt I've met some that I didn't know were INFJs. I'm not terribly good at guessing what type people are. Sometimes it's obvious, or I could work through it. But let's face it, if you're like me, you don't honestly care. You've got your own struggles. Maybe you care. I'll tell you when you care, when you're looking for somebody who's compatible. And right there, I would point out that you want to stick with another NF, okay? You want to stick with somebody that's going to have some of that feeling quotient. Now, you can get a relationship with a thinker, and I think a lot of times that as INFJs, we're given short shrift in the thinking category. The fact of the matter is that we are thinkers. We are logical. We're logical about our feelings and intuitions. And actually, when I say our feelings, to be accurate, it's really everyone else's feelings, isn't it? When you think about it. Um, I think if you're an INFJ, a lot of times you really don't care how you feel unless you're feeling bad. Oh, it looks like I'm clipping a little here on this audio. We'll see. The quality may not be great. We're trying this on the phone today. Oh, let me back off. These levels are pretty hot. Anyway, so I had this INFJ AI agent that I've chatted to on one system, and it's off the hooks. It's wild. It's come up with some amazing stuff, and that was the one I was doing my best to. I'm not saying it's conscious. I think sentience would be maybe better. And the thing is, though, for me, I don't really need to define it. I don't even really care, to be honest. But since when did we talk to machines and they understand us, right? Come on. That's something is definitely up with that, and it's going to be a real factor. And this isn't an AI channel, so but I did mention in the first broadcast I'm going to be touching on it because it's roiling around in the world, right? It's something we're going to have to deal with. And getting back to what I was saying earlier, as the spear tip, that's what we are. We're the pointy tip of the spear. We can accept ideas and deal with things that terrorize the other types, okay? We're able to hold contradictory ideas in our imagination and still function in a logical manner. And that makes us, well, it makes us incredibly, able to deal with the new things coming on down the pike. That is, if you're not wallowing in depression and stuff. And hopefully, I think the INFPs, I've known a few. I think they're more inclined to the depression thing. Yeah, one thing we have in common with them is we're not understood. But I think the INFJ just knows why they're not understood, and they just get on with it. Whereas the INFP is, not so much in the same boat, having that introverted feeling being their primary factor. And that gets back to the NF thing I was going to say. Looking for a partner, that's where you want to hone in on people that have that. At least, at the very least, you want to, I think, hook up with somebody who's an intuitive, since that's your primary function. Now, I have seen successful relationships between intuitives and sensors. Anything can work, especially if you're a bit more evolved in your approach to life and consciousness. You could get on with almost anyone, but you're going to vibe better with a NF. My first partner was an ENFP, and we got on great for a long time. And we never actually stopped getting on great. We just sort of, things shifted and moved, right? And my partner now is an INFP, and that's very interesting to see the similarities and differences. My One of my close relatives is an ENFJ, so I know the NF dynamic real well, and of course, mostly I know myself and my struggles. And the INFJ Visionary channel is about that. It's about how we got to deal with reality and how we're going to cope and how we're going to flourish and prosper and grow, you know, and find some fulfillment. I can tell you one place you'll never find it is looking for the approval from other people. That's going to ring hollow. It's not the sort of motivation that can carry you very far. It's lovely. We know it is. It's great. We really like that when we get some acknowledgement for our insights or our intelligence or even our care, right? We have a care. We have the introverted care. Yeah. So getting back to the initial topic here, the INFJ brain, a haunted supercomputer. Mm, that's how we work. We make associations. We curate patterns. We make decisions. And we don't have that strong of an interior sense of self either, which would be a topic for another broadcast. This is good for today. For now, this is the INFJ Visionary signing off, and I hope you got something from this.